Yeah, Sis and Tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up, Alison's on TV. And when they hop on the phone, it's the place you want to be. Sis and Tell. Sis and Tell.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Well, so as you know, our nephew Ezra came to visit from New York.
I do know. Ezra means helper in Hebrew.
It does, and that's interesting.
Anybody who was on the B'nai Mitzvah trip of 2015 in Israel understands that inside joke. But please continue.
Yeah, he likes to tell everyone that it means that, but it makes sense. And it's funny that you say that because he asked me a question and I almost burst into tears when he asked me this question. So we are both early risers and it was Saturday morning. I was up and I was loading the dishwasher and he said, "Hey, Aunt Amanda, can I help you?" That's not the question though. That made me emotional. It was the follow-up question. And I said, sure. And he said, "Okay, do you have a specific way you like to load the dishwasher?" And I said, "Oh my God, I do, Ezra. And no one has ever asked me that. And I really appreciate that
You're
question."
speaking my love language.
I don't know, like, if Stuart and Melissa have trained this kid they have like indoctrinated him, or if that is just natural Ezra. It was incredible. I was like, please, if Aaron had started off our relationship with, "Hi, my name is Aaron. Do you have a special way of loading the dishwasher?"
Yeah, note to all you singles out there in the first stages of dating, that's a great question.
I would have proposed. Right then and there.
Oh, gosh, he really is a lover. I mean, that kid is special. He's been that way since he was little, but he even said to Mommy and Daddy, because he wanted to come to Birmingham. I mean, that should be a red flag for most kids, but and she's like, just to spend time with them. And I'm like, wow, that's my kids they gotta step up.
The step up, the schmoozing with the grandparents.
I know. Well, while you were entertaining Ezra, the New York helper, I was entertaining myself with part of our family on a frozen lake in the middle of Wisconsin. And that is because Alan has a good friend from graduate school who lives in Chicago. They bought a cabin a couple years ago that they redid, and it's on this awesome lake right near Wild Rose, Wisconsin. I just want to say the name. I don't know if that means anything to anyone, but Wild Rose. How could you not love the name Wild Rose? And the lake is pretty small with, I don't know, a couple dozen houses on there. And in the summer, it's great for boating or canoeing and swimming, etc. And then in the winter, this thing freezes. And our friend, Mark, he's only gone ice fishing twice, but has decided that's his new winter activity. So I want to say he and his wife invited us to go ice fishing, but the reality is Alan was listening to him talk about ice fishing and invited ourselves, which is also fine. So he's like, yeah, we're going to go ice fishing. And of course I'm like, I don't know. And we went back and forth, decided in the end we'd fly to Chicago, pick up Arthur, who lives there, and a friend, and drive the 3 hours. But of course, about a month or two ago when we were thinking through this, I finally, we're on this call with Arthur. I said, look, I appreciate this and that you're planning this, but it really sounds like a boys trip, I just want to say. And Arthur said, Mom, it is not a boys trip. There will be alcohol there. And I said, okay, I'll come. As long as there's whiskey.
Going fishing for whiskey in the hole.
Yeah. And apparently, so if you have seen my Facebook page and Instagram, I posted a picture of me sitting on the bucket, right? That's part of the experience. You have to sit on a bucket and you use an auger, which is like a big old plastic drill. It looks like a giant sort of corkscrew, like a wine corkscrew.
You're making me cold just thinking about like the scraping of the ice. Oh, gosh.
No, but that's the fun part, because when I tell you, so Mommy, of course, was very nervous. I was a little nervous too, because you hear these, of course, she is, you Google, anything about ice fishing and you immediately get the worst case scenario stories of the ice breaking apart and people falling in, which I don't think I would last 2 seconds if I fell in this water. Saturday morning, it was negative like 3 degrees to start and warmed up to 6 degrees or 11 degrees when we got out there.
Did you have clothes that were warm enough?
So the good news is, yeah, so we have our ski clothes. So we had long underwear and I had ski pants that was waterproof and I had these boots. And thankfully, and I know everybody listening out there who shares this with me, I had my Amazon coat from years ago. Right. And you know what? That $99 jacket from Amazon that was the craze a few years ago, that was an awesome investment because it did keep me warm. I had about 4 layers underneath it.
It's like a sleeping bag.
It is a total sleeping bag. There, our friend were like, a great jacket is one with a big hood and very puffy. I go, I happen to have a big hooded puffy jacket. So I brought my Amazon jacket and it served me well. But yeah, so when you drill a hole with this auger, it's basically you took a drill and this giant plastic corkscrew thing. It looks like something that you would, what you use to take a wine.
I've seen them before in the movies.
A wine
cork.
I
do know what you're talking about. It. Yeah, yeah.
So the good news is, even though Mommy was making me a little neurotic and I was neurotic myself, to walk on ice, I think it has to be 4 inches. To drive on ice, it has to be 6 inches thick. This ice was 18 inches.
So how did you drill through that?
Was it the thinner? Auger? No, it just
18 inches. It goes that deep?
Yeah, this auger was at least 1.5 feet. I mean, you have to go way down.
Do you have a picture of the core, the ice core? That's cool.
Well, you mean the hole?
Does it break
it's called the coal. No, it breaks it up, and it's sort of like when you do shaved ice, and all of the stuff comes out. So that comes out, and you just push that away. You sweep that away with your foot, and then you just dig a hole straight down, which is a perfectly cut hole.
I was picturing like an apple, like the apple slicer,
no.
And how it leaves the core, and that like you were like it was like making a circle,
no,
like you were going to pull up something that was like cylindrical,
No,
right?
I think you'd need like a laser cut for that. There's no way.
This is like crushing the ice.
This is crushing the ice and creating a perfectly round cylinder. And I guess a cylinder is round.
How do you pull it? How big is the hole? Because like you've got to pull a fish through there.
So the hole's only like 6 or 8 inches in diameter.
So you're really limited on the size fish you can pull up.
It's not long. Like I'm looking at what a foot might be. It's definitely not a foot long. Well, you're only fishing for panfish, and to be fair, we were also just doing catch and release.
Does that mean you can cook it in a pan?
That does mean you can cook it in a pan.
I didn't know if it was a type of fish.
It's not. I asked the same question. So it's I said, what are we catching? Panfish. I go, I don't know what a panfish is. He goes, no. And then he started naming the varieties, which doesn't matter. But
there's panfish, there's air fried fish, there's.
Well, Alan got to use the auger. Everybody did the auger, but me. I didn't use it for some reason. But the most exciting part of ice fishing is drilling the hole. I mean, if you're not going to catch a fish, the second most exciting part is drilling the hole, because it's like drilling for oil. Because you get to that, you're like, okay, it's coming, and then all of a sudden the water splashes up, and it's very exciting. It's a very exciting.
So then, do you just like leave? Does the hole eventually like freeze back over because it's so cold?
Yes, that is a great question too. So number one, so it was so cold Saturday that the hole was refreezing as we were fishing. So my line was getting stuck on and so you have a little scooper. Yeah, like the little scooper you use if you're like frying potatoes. That's something we can relate to. And you use that to take some of the ice chips out at the top. But literally you just sit there and you barely move, the thing. And the bait, I don't want to gross you out, but the bait we used were maggots.
Ew.
Yeah.
Oh.
And these poor suckers, I mean,
why?
They're going into freezing water. I'm not sure it
maybe
matters.
They can withstand I bet they can withstand the cold better than like a worm, so they keep wiggling or something.
I don't know if that sucker was wiggling, because I think he died upon impact, but I was wiggling him. So the other thing is, our friend had an underwater camera. So he dug a hole and then a hole next to the hole, and he put the camera on. So at one point on Sunday, it warmed up to 35. It was a balmy 35.
Was there an app on your phone where you could see it?
No, it was like a little screen. Like, remember the old, what were they? Nintendos? Not Nintendos. What? It's the handheld, like the Game Boys. Yes. So imagine a Game Boy with a waterproof camera attached to it. So he threw in that, and then we're watching on the screen. So we could literally see all these fish, and they wanted nothing to do with our bait. So I don't know what happened, but we saw the fish. I said, we can say we technically caught a fish on camera. We just didn't catch it on our line.
So you didn't eat the fish. Was it you're not allowed to in that lake? Or was it just
you can eat it, but
yeah.
I don't think that was our intention. I will tell you, this is also crazy. So there was a controversy at one of the, I think it was like a city council meeting.
Hold on one second. I don't understand that.
What?
Like, I don't understand catching and releasing a fish. Like there's some rules in lakes, or sometimes it's like, let's see how big of a fish we can get, and that's like the goal. But your goal was just to, you're not like who can get the biggest fish. It was, you just sat there, like you didn't even get to eat it, like, and you could. I don't understand.
We could, but that's not the most exciting part. And I know this because at one point, Mark, our friend, was helping us, and he didn't even have gloves on at one point. I thought I was going to get frostbite without them. And he's like, because it's so subtle when the fish eat the bait. And my line was about 12 feet down. So I'm like barely moving the line. And all of a sudden he goes, I think I felt something. And then psychosomatically, I felt something too. And in my head, I know this because it wasn't in real life, it really felt like my pole got heavier. And I said, I feel it too. Oh my gosh. So I start winding it, and I'm like reeling it in, and I'm screaming, oh my gosh, I got a fish. And everybody's looking at me, and then I pull it up, and literally the maggot is still on the end of the thing. The fish didn't even bite. It's not even like I lost the fish. I just, imagined a fish on the end of my line. And that was exciting. That was the third most exciting thing next to the auger and potentially catch one.
I would like to go magnet fishing. Do you know about magnet fishing?
What's magnet fishing?
And you're not fishing for magnets. You're using a magnet, and you like throw it in a body of water, and then it picks up
like
whatever
junk.
Yeah. But sometimes like people get like, I mean, it can get creepy. People are like, oh, I found an old gun that someone threw in this lake, or it's like I found jewelry, right? People find cool things. There's a ton of TikTok videos about magnet fishing. It is like the people that we see at the beach at 6 a.m. and they've got their metal detectors, except there's like a magnet, so you don't have to detect. It just pulls up whatever.
But then what are you catching?
People find some like old coins that can be collectibles. Sometimes it's junk. Just like, I mean, it's the same thing you did. Sometimes you get nothing with fishing. And sometimes you catch a big one, right? Sometimes you catch something and it's cool and you don't want it, but you put it back and you're like, I found this crazy thing. And it's
Well, speaking of crazy things, I started to say there was a big controversy in a town called Hudson. There was a city council meeting recently.
This is in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think this is Wisconsin. So the mayor apparently brought up the fact. Now, anybody who saw my picture, one of the big questions was, where's your shanty? You know what a shanty is?
Yeah, because I think I asked you, it looks like an outhouse that's sitting on the ice, and that's where you go, you sit in it.
Exactly.
And I guess it protects you from the wind at least, and is slightly warmer than the
slightly
outside
warmer,
of it.
especially for the wind was strong. But we didn't have a shanty because we literally could just, a lot of people will drive their trucks out, bring the shanty, leave the shanties out there, and then come back and forth and fish there, which is, and some have tents, some have structures. Our friend's cabin was, 30 paces from when we were drilling. So if we got cold, we just went back into the cabin, which was really nice. So we didn't really need to bring a shanty or anything like that, which is why we didn't have a shanty. But there were shanties out there that we walked by. So this Hudson mayor at a city council meeting brought up the fact that there is a inherent problem with ice fishing. He was dead serious. And he says it's because those shanties would possibly promote prostitution.
What?
Yes. And of course, he said this with a totally straight face. First of all, I can't imagine. I could barely sit there and fish because I was so freezing. I mean, if it does, I will just say more power to those professionals who are willing to go out in that freezing into one of these like shanties, a true shanty.
I don't even want to go to bed without socks. I cannot.
Exactly.
Like, I can't even imagine. It's too cold to do anything in there.
I know. So
no one wants to.
People have been, it's been all over the internet. People have been making so much fun because everybody's like, what?
What is
I
he
mean,
talking
and if you
about?
could see what these structures look like and how freezing it is most of the time in Wisconsin, you'd be laughing. You're like, what in the world is
No.
he talking about?
What
It's so
is he
ridiculous.
talking about?
I
What?
don't know.
Maybe he's talking about his own experience. I
Uh,
don't, like,
Well, it reminds me of like some of these colleges that still have these ancient rules on campus where they don't have sorority houses because at one point a certain
oh,
number of women who lived in a house together was considered a brothel. Now,
oh,
this is 100
man.
whatever years ago, and some of these universities still have these rules. I don't know, or some of these towns still have these rules. So to me, it's like, okay, that's like one of those things from an era of, of years past. The shanty promoting modern day prostitution, though, has got to be ridiculous. There's enough like cheap motels in the area, I'm sure, where they don't need
Right.
that to happen. Yeah.
Now, look, if you're a couple and you've got children and there's no privacy, I understand going out to your shanty.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to the shanty. Yeah, you
Right?
betcha.
Say the kids are all inside watching Madagascar. Let's go to the shanty.
So the,
Go to the shanty for a quickie, honey. Come on.
we're gonna
After
go.
5
It's gonna
years
be
of
our new
marriage.
code word. We're gonna
Right?
go to the
Oh,
shanty. Yeah.
we're
Oh,
gonna go.
mom and dad are going to the shanty. Don't
Okay,
mind
we'll
us.
be right back. Here's the popcorn. You enjoy. We put Madagascar on repeat. We're gonna go to the shanty. We're gonna go ice fishing.
But that Wisconsin accent is possibly one of the most fun accents to do. Mom and dad, they joke when I was a counselor at a camp in Webster, Wisconsin when I was 18. And after like 2 weeks at the camp, I'm like, hi, mom. Hi, dad. Oh, I got to go to the store and get some pop. And I did not sound like that. But it is easy to take it on as a joke and then to really start talking that way.
You sounded like you're from Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah.
It's not in my head.
It's sort of all the same.
But it
Yeah.
also sounds like Sarah Palin.
It-
Like it's
Well,
all the same.
After a while, you sort of feel like you're in the movie Fargo. It doesn't matter, where you are.
Oh,
It's all,
yeah.
it all, oh, you betcha.
I can see Russia from my shanty.
Well, the other awesome part of the weekend, which was also part of the Wisconsin experience, was we went to a real life Wisconsin supper club. Now, just the idea of it, you might be now visualizing a place that's very fancy with valet parking and, the white glove service. No, 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 no. Please take that and put that aside. This is like down home, like, with like true gritty, not even gritty, but authentic Wisconsin grub. Like we sat at this bar and there's a live band playing.
Besides cheese, what is Wisconsin known for? I don't
That's
even
what they are
know.
known for. And we had some delicious
Why?
cheese curds. That's
Why?
what I don't know.
Where did that come from? Why is Wisconsin known for cheese?
I don't know. They're
do they
cheese
have
heads. They make
do
the
they-
cheese. They've got
do
lots
they-
of cows. You
Yes.
would love it there.
That was my follow-up question. They must have a lot of cows. But like dairy cows,
Yeah.
right? Because they're not the beef people. They're known for a dairy product. So
Yeah.
maybe they have like a ton of dairy cows.
They must because they've got a lot of cheese curds. And I will tell you, there is nothing more delicious than a Wisconsin cheese curd because it's fried and like it's fried. It's like coated in beer batter, like
Ooh.
beer battered cheese and fried. It was
Thank you.
It was thank you. And I was introduced to a new drink, which I now need to figure out. I know if I make it at home, it's not going to be this good. I love old fashions. I love whiskey, but they make the Wisconsin drink is a brandy old fashioned. You can get it either sweet, sour, or pressed. And pressed is sort of a little sweet, but a little bit more carbonated. Anyway, 3 brandy old fashions later, I was ready to go to the shanty, I tell you.
Guess what? I found out speaking of cows, I found out some really interesting information about cows. And
Well,
it's
I can't wait.
If you don't know, y'all, I'm a little obsessed with cows. Like,
Do they want you to eat more chicken? Because I've seen them on the
Right.
side of the road.
I've seen that billboard. There's a whole industry.
Those cows do not know how to spell.
Those
Okay.
cows have a lobbying group. So I'm obsessed with cows. Whenever we go travel, if we see cows, we'll pull over and I'll talk to them. I'll have a whole conversation. That pun did not work out. But so Aaron, he started looking into farm stays, Airbnb farm stays. I'm guessing because our 20th wedding anniversary is coming up, but we also have no plans to go on vacation anywhere. But he started looking at farm stays, and he kept on being like, oh, this one, there's llamas. And I'm like, yeah. Is there a cow? Like every time he like brought it, I'm like, yeah, but there's no cows. And then he messaged this one farm stay who had horses and said,
Wait, when you keep saying farm stay, is that a category on Airbnb I'm not aware of?
It is.
Oh.
It is. You can stay on a farm, but you have to be careful because sometimes the farm stay, it's a old barn that was converted to a house and there's no animals there. It's like an old farm, right? So you have to really read the details to make sure there's actually animals there. So this one had horses, so he messaged the owners and was like, hey, do you have cows? And they said, cows and horses don't get along.
What?
So, yeah. Right?
I thought, oh, come on. I thought they were best friends.
They are not. And it's kind of like the same surprise I felt when I learned that polar bears and penguins don't live in the same continent. One lives in Antarctica, one lives in the Arctic, right? Like they don't even, neither the two shall meet. And if they did, they would not get along. They don't like each other. Cows and horses don't like each other. And that seems wrong.
That does seem wrong. It seems like they cohabitate a lot.
Right? But I guess they don't.
Well, that's why you use a horse to round up the cows. I guess the cows are, you know what? They've always had a contentious relationship if you think about it from the cowboy days. Yeah. I think the
You're right.
Yeah, the horses think they're superior.
Mm-hmm. But they're herding dogs, right? Like
yes.
Like yeah. They're there to herd.
So wait, did you stay on the farm or not?
We haven't. He just
you
started
haven't booked
looking
it yet.
into it. No, we just, Yeah.
Are you thinking it's going to be like a domestic safari where you're laying in bed in your renovated barn house and all of a sudden a cow sticks its head through the window and you can pet it in the morning over your fresh coffee? Is that what you're thinking?
Okay, well, that would be magical, but I'm also okay with more of like a dude ranch, right? Like I'll get up at 6 a.m. and collect the eggs and I would go do whatever I need to do with cows. I don't know I'll give them some hay and I just want to cuddle with a cow.
Okay, so you've just combined like three things. First of all, the eggs are chickens, not cows.
I know, but
hay is horses, I'm pretty sure.
No, cows eat hay.
You think so?
100% because we were in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee for February break and we drove past a pasture with cows eating hay. They had this like cage. It looked like a disc golf cage that they put hay in and the cows are eating it. What else would they eat? Grains. They might eat grains. No, that's what they put those big like round bales of hay.
For horses. They do that for cows?
For cows.
Then why do they say hay is for horses? This is where it started.
You're right.
They know. The poor cows. Nobody thought about the cows.
The cows were trying to eat the hay and the
and the rancher said, hay is for horses.
Well, I think the horse came up to him and said, hey man, what you doing?
Yeah.
You eating my hay? And the cow's like, hey.
Isn't hay is for horses really when your parents are scolding you for saying hey instead of hello? Now that I'm thinking about it. Like hey instead of going hi, and they go, hey is for horses, not for greetings. I just caught that. It just taken me. I was this years old today.
That's
when
like
I figured that out.
It's also the same thing when you have to correct someone saying, a child specifically, going, yeah. And say yes.
Yes.
Sounds nicer. Or yup. Sounds nicer.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's the thing.
Pick your battles.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't know. So we live in the South, and but we were not raised to say yes, ma'am.
I did,
sir. I'm not
not to our parents,
right? But I'm not saying that we didn't say it because I did. But there's a lot of people who they've got their 3-year-old being like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and or to everyone. But mommy, I don't have any distinct memory of mommy and daddy correcting us and saying you need to say yes, ma'am. We just kind of did it, right? But not like overly done.
Right.
And then when we referred to like our parents' friends as aunt and uncle.
Or their first names. Yes.
Or their first names. Or if it was someone totally new, it was Mr. or Mrs. or Doctor or, whatever in their last name. But there's this thing where like my kids' friends, they reference me like I'm a preschool teacher, and it drives me crazy. Right?
Miss Amanda?
Yes. And I cannot, I'm like, please don't I'm like, you can call me Amanda, but they're being raised where their parents have told them not to call me by my first name. Like they have to put Miss in front of it. And I don't want to be Mrs. Marks. Like I'm Amanda. Like you don't
Yeah.
need to call me Miss Amanda. I'm not. And then Aaron's Mr. Aaron.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't stand that. So I have a full stop of Miss Allison, and all their friends know it. Some may still call me that, but I'm very clear, especially on the first meet, that I say you can call me whatever you want. Do not call me Miss Allison. I just feel like there's an archaic, anachronistic value to that. That feels weird to me. I'm with you. I'm like and when the boys and girls turn 18, I also say now you can just call me Allison, because now you're an adult and whatever your parents taught you was polite as a kid, but now you're an adult. And for instance, Arthur's friends at college, we were with them, and they all called me Allison. So I've moved into the Allison stage, which I much prefer. Miss Lebovitz even feels old.
It's weird.
But we got on this
Too
topic.
formal.
It's too formal. I totally agree with you on that. And it's funny you bring this up, because we got into this conversation over dinner this past weekend about Southerners. Yes, ma'am, and yes, sir is another challenge, is now in an era where some people are non-binary or, are, gender fluid, etc., and go by they or them or prefer a more neutral pronoun. Ma'am and sir is very defining and restrictive.
Right.
And
yes.
in that sense,
Very
Southerners have something to figure out. But we balance that, I believe.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
With the eternally gender neutral y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, which everybody should adopt. It's really, it's an all-encompassing, I think people have been, especially in the North, it was very common to say, hey, you guys, or maybe even in Wisconsin, hey, you betcha, you guys. And guys, I mean, personally, I'm not offended by that. I don't take offense, but I also understand and respect those who are offended by the gender specific quality of that. All of this to say, y'all is all encompassing. Hey, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all want to go out? Y'all want to do something tonight?
And I think first season, we talked about this for about 30 seconds, and I feel like it's worth to bring back up that there is a correct way of spelling y'all.
100%.
And a lot of y'all are spelling it wrong, right?
What are y'all thinking?
What are y'all thinking? It's Y apostrophe A-L-L. And people spell it Y-A apostrophe L-L. Which
that makes no
doesn't even,
sense.
It makes
y'all,
no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not it's not a word.
Right.
Yeah. The apostrophe takes the place of the O and the U.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Bye-bye,
that
OU. Bye-bye, OU.
It's a conjunction, right? Is that what that is?
Conjunction, junction. What's your
What's
function?
your function?
Yes. Y apostrophe A-L-L.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's how you say it.
And it is, and people will laugh because sometimes you say, are all y'all coming? That is correct. That is correct Southern diction.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
not
sure
redundant.
is.
Yeah. Because all y'all, not just all and not just y'all, but all y'all.
Well, we took the kids to this when we were in Pigeon Forge, which is like Vegas for children. We took the kids. We took the kids to this pizza place, and the waitress or the server, she's very seasoned, right? Fantastic.
By seasoned, is that a nice way of saying a veteran? Is
yes.
she? Okay.
She's been around a while, and she started off the conversation, asking us what we wanted to drink, but said, we only have Pepsi products. And
that's a problem.
And I was like, oh, okay. All right then. And my kids did not understand what she meant because they kept on asking for Cokes. And they went, and Ruby's like, okay, do you have a Sprite? And she's like, no, we only have Pepsi products. And she just couldn't even comprehend what that meant. Like, she's like, okay, but do you have this? Okay, Ruby, here are your choices. Don't get a Pepsi. Okay, you can have a root beer or a Dr. Pepper. I would recommend the Dr. Pepper, which is the best of the Pepsi products, I would say.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. That's fair.
Do not get a Sierra Mist. That is not Sprite.
I don't get it. Don't they know where they are?
That's what I said. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Aren't we in the South and you're serving Pepsi products? That's just wrong.
All right. Well, as we wrap up, I just want to do a quick shout out to one of our super fans who made my week. I haven't heard from her in a while and told me she sent me a message on Facebook that she's been listening to the podcast. She is my dear friend, Sarah Bolton, who she and her husband, Brett, used to babysit for the boys. They were this dynamic duo and still are. She's a kindergarten teacher. Shout out to all the kindergarten teachers. Everything I ever knew or needed to know about life, I learned through you. And is now raising these two gorgeous children who I will admit, stalk on Facebook on a, usual basis because they're amazing. And she's just is and always has been one of the most precious, truly genuine, caring, loving people. So the fact that she takes time to listen to us on her way and that it makes her happy on the way to school just means the world to me. So Sarah, miss you, love you. Thanks for listening.
And thank you for listening to our latest podcast of Sis Tell. To all the people from Wisconsin. To all the people from Wisconsin who may be offended by our accents, I say, sorry.
You betcha.
Oh, you betcha we're sorry. Don't forget to share us with your friends and share us with your family. Share us with your foes.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.